Bengal gram. Okay, along with Bengal gram, what they'll do is that they'll mix the seeds of something else, which will not be Bengal gram but resembles Bengal gram, which could be just a weed. Just to increase in weight, they'll see to it that they have added this. Then there would be certain pebbles, there would be certain grains, there would be certain of the dust, because every gunny bag cannot be opened and checked. They are just sold, by the kg, by the weight. So you really can't. So they have to see that they are clean. They are not mixed with the seeds of other weeds. Then if they are mixed with the other seeds, the farmers will not have time to segregate gunny bags and gunny bags of seeds. They'll just get it and they'll just keep broadcasting it or sowing it directly. They'll not have the time to segregate, right? So that's one thing. Second is they have to be dry, solid and healthy. Of course, dry. What will happen, Kirtana, what will happen if the seeds are not dry? Correct. There would be certain fungal and bacterial infections. Yes, because we know anything that is moist, anything that has got a little bit of moisture or water also, it attracts fungus. And the moment there is fungus, at the speed at which it grows. The entire gunny bag or even if the one gunny bag is in touch with the other gunny bag, the entire thing will just, go to doldrums. It will just get spoiled. Right? Yes.
Now what is broadcasting?
Will come to broadcasting. Broadcasting is the way by which the seeds are sown, by throwing it with their hands. You must have seen, no? They take handful of seeds and they just throw it on the field. The farmers, the way they do it, that's known as broadcasting. Yes. So we know the importance of dry. We have also studied, what the importance of having solid seeds by the water test. If they are hollow seeds, half-eaten seeds, they will not work. So we need to see that they are well-rounded solid seeds, nothing hollow inside, no empty space, no pore, no holes, nothing. And of course, they have to be healthy. Because, if you just take, a sample, if you just take some moong dal at home only, you take it in your hands and you can figure out whether the seeds are healthy or not. If they are unhealthy, they would be a little crooked looking, it would be half-eaten, the shape will not be full. You yourself, you being in class 8, you can figure out whether they are healthy seeds or not, right? So they have to be healthy seeds, dry seeds, and they have to be solid. Now coming to free from fungal spores, pests or insects. Of course, again, coming to insects, the farmers have to take sample. They have to do a little bit of sample test from each and every gunny bag. And most probably, they'll have to, higher chances are that they have to cut the gunny bag from the base. Because we know most of the insects, most of the, growth of these germs start from the base. Why from the base?
Probably because, as you said, the dirt and insects generally collect at the bottom.
Yeah, that is one very good reason. And, the heavier pebbles and whatever the dust, grime, and also, the base of any gunny bag, even while storing, while transporting, while just, loading and unloading, the base of the gunny bag gets exposed more to the environment. For example, the seeds seller must have stored the gunny bags at a place which got a little waterlogged during the rainy season. And he just sun-dried it and then just sold it in the market. So, one can figure out if one does a sample test from the base of the gunny bag. Of course, there are people who would just poke a hole with a sharp object, and from that hole, whatever little seeds come out, they'll do a sample test. Randomly, they'll just poke a hole with a knife or anything sharp, and the seeds comes out and they just do a sample test from there. This is also how sample tests are done, very randomly. Right. So here, they also need to check for fungal spores. As I said, seasoned eyes. For example, the farmers who are very much experienced, their eyes are seasoned. They can clearly understand, if there are fungal spores or not. Again, if these are too tiny, but then again, if there are some pests or if there are certain eggs or larvae of the pest, in that water test, all those things will just float up. There would be certain white particles or very little blackish, grayish or yellowish eggs which would just float at the top of the water, on the surface of the water, through which we can identify that if there's a insect egg or not, if there are some remains of some pest, some rodent must have, rat must have eaten it, and all the waste were there. So through various tests one can figure out. But fungal spores are really, really very harmful, because that means the seeds are like, they look healthy, but they might pass the water test also, but these are so tiny that this will slowly, have their effect very soon once they are sowed. They will not give rise to healthy crops. So one has to be very careful of fungal spores. Okay, of good breed, yes, of good breed. They could be hybrid seeds or GM seeds. What are GM seeds? Genetically modified seeds, right? Or they're also known as hybrid seeds. So basically, no use growing seeds which are like, ancient times, maybe, if you just go back almost 70, 80, 90 years back, the kind of rice that our forefathers used to have used to be like really brownish, reddish, and they used to be like very short. They used to be almost like pearl size, So do we eat those kind of rices now?
No, ma'am.
No, it's just that yes, there are a few people who would want to have those kind of rice, they being organic rice, and they have a lot of those husk in it, so it's very healthy. But where do we get it? It's very rarely found, right? So nowadays the rice that we have is like, so slender, whitish rice, they are fragrant. You have rices of all variety, right? But so what is hybrid seeds basically? I'll just give you, okay, how many of you love to have grapes?
Ma'am.
I do.
Most of
Me
you.
too.
Very Veda, okay, Naisha, Kavya, Ronak, all of you, most of you. Okay. So have you found seeds in grapes nowadays? Do you find seeds?
Not
Hardly.
ma'am.
No, but when you were kid, when you were even younger, you were anyways kid now also, but almost 10 years back, 11 years back, did you get seeds in your grapes?
Sometimes when I was younger, then there used to be a few grapes where we used to have seeds in them.
Correct.
But we have no seeds.
Correct. So these are known as seedless grapes. These are known as seedless grapes. So these are hybrid grapes or GM grapes. So how did they come from? So basically they were designed in the lab. So basically what happened, there was this grapes which was like very nice looking, green in color, but the only problem was that they had seeds in it. So, just imagine the grapes are so small, and then you chew and you find so many seeds in it. You find it a little irritating to chew on those grapes, on those seeds, right? And you try and throw them up, right? That's the reason why. That's the reason why, people did not enjoy having these grapes, right? On the other hand, what happened is that there were grapes which were a little, not so good looking grapes, a little crooked looking grapes, but they did not have seeds, right? On the other hand, there was another grape which was okay, decent to look at, but it was extremely juicy and sweet. This had no seed, and this was good looking, as in, if I could say, uh, so these were like, yeah, good looking grapes, good looking green grapes. Okay. So now there was this botanist who wanted the best out of all these. So he wanted to have a seedless grape. He wanted to have that grape to look nice, and he wanted that grape to be juicy. So what did he do? He took out the genes, genetically he modified them, and he brought out a grapes which was looking extremely nice, greenish in color, just the perfect color, extremely juicy, and had no seeds. And this was designed. I mean, this did not happen in 1 year or 2 years. This has happened over a period of several years. Several scientists, several, this was like genetic engineers worked on it. They found out the perfect gene which would give rise to this kind of a grape. And that is when, the cultivation of this started. And then now it's available throughout the world. But even now, if you go to interior villages, you will find, grapes which could be crooked looking and which could have seeds. But these are the real grapes because they are not hybrid. They have not been manufactured artificially. They are the real ones. Have you understood the concept of hybrid and GM seeds? Okay, I'll just give you example. I'll just give you one more example of how did somebody get black rose. Have you heard that black rose is something which is very rare, but nowadays you get to see black rose which is very rarely found, right? So there was a red rose which was very common, right? They got a dark red rose, and they somehow got a rose which was somewhere in between bluish brownish kind of rose, right? So what did they do? They took the best, they saw that which gene was responsible for the color of the rose. So they took out the best of all and then they got a black rose, but it was not very easy. Let me tell you, it was not very easy, right? I'll just give you an example. For example, there was a red rose and there was a yellow rose, right? So what they did is that they artificially kind of reproduced them, right? What are the permutation combination they got? They got a red rose with yellow stripes, a rose, right? They got a yellow rose with red stripes. They got a red rose with yellow dots. They got a yellow rose with red dots, right? Similarly, they got lot many permutation and combination just by mixing a red rose and a yellow rose, right? So can you see the kind of permutation and combination they got? Out of that, they'll take whatever they wanted. Maybe, some queen of some country wanted a red rose with yellow dots on her birthday. So she has ordered the scientists over there, and over a period of a few years, they have discovered how to make red rose with yellow dots.